أبيي ما بسيبه انتوا وين يا بناتنا أبيي ما بسيبه انتوا وين يا أولادنا أبيي ما بسيبه انتوا وين أبحاتنا أبيي ما بسيبه أبيي ما بسيبه شغلوا يخلصنا ما بسيبه فين
أبيي سوشيال ميديا. أبيي ولاء وفاء انتماء حب وفداء وطني الحب الذي لا يتوقف والعطاء الذي لا ينضب. أبيي سوشيال ميديا مساحة تجمعنا من شتى بقاع الأرض ونطرح من خلالها أفكارا ورؤى للخروج بأبيي إلى بر الأمان. فأنت يا أبيي سامية وشامخة وسيظل حبك في قلوبنا. أبيي سوشيال ميديا منبر لأبناء أبيي والمهتمين بقضية أبيي.
ما بسيبه انتوا وين يا بناتنا أبيي ما بسيبه انتوا وين يا أولادنا أبيي ما بسيبه انتوا وين أبحاتنا أبيي ما بسيبه أبيي ما بسيبه شغلوا يخلصنا ما بسيبه فين
Welcome to Abyei social media. My name is Nguyen Deng. I'm here today with Abyei chairman in the United States, and with me also, Sarah. We are here today discussing the issues that is facing Abyei time to time. As we all know, now we are approaching, or we have already entered to the new year, 2022. Until now, we are still hopeless. We don't even know how long this is going to take. When is it going to end? So I will let you, I'll let James Ngong and Sarah to introduce themselves to you. They are here with me in the studio. Welcome, Sarah. Before I let the chairman come in, would you please join us?
Hello. Hello, my name is Sarah Abyei from Abyei. I live in the United States, South Dakota.
With us, Chairman of Abyei community in the United States, let Mr. Chairman come in and greet the audience. Mr. Chairman.
Hello, Abyei social media viewer, Mr. Nguyen, Sarah. A special greeting to all of you. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, even though it's late. I wish you all the best of 2022 and to all the people of Abyei. My name is James Agwek, the chairman of Abyei community in the United States, and currently reside in state of Iowa. And I'm looking forward to tackling things that are concerning the future of Abyei, as well as the future of South Sudan as a nation. Thank you.
Before I proceed, I'm going to let you listen to the song by Deng Mijuk, Thinking About Abyei. So would you please bear with me and listen to these songs?
chiriago we pinde yini na bisheng Abyei chukufal la jamiare tin watol pinde yin chukufal Abyei chukufal la jamiare tin watol jamde yin chukufal Inati Abyei Engodi tirano Abyei Kenaria ben kubela ben Nashida bukuen Karendang kaibela ben Kumim Nonganam dawango Kinati Abyei Engodi tirano Abyei Kenaria ben kubela ben Nashida bukuen Karendang kaibela ben Kumim Ini mi mama, ini mi baba, ini mi mama, ini mi baba. Umjino kenanya redineloi, nanti unchenaria tonga kiting kwa kite. Akumjino kenanya redineloi, tingchi munne chenaria tonga kiting kwa kite. Shagaman chiriago we pande yini na bisheng Abyei chukufal Shagaman chiriago we pinde yini na bisheng Abyei chukufal la jamiare tin watol pinde yin chukufal Abyei chukufal la jamiare tin watol jamde yin chukufal
Comrade James, before we proceed, would you please try to explain this song? What does it mean? And
A very well played song, written by one of the most talented young men, Deng Mijo. Just happened to be very close to me and related to me. And I know his dad personally, also a very talented uncle who has not only the voice, but also can write a very meaningful song. The song almost brought tears to my eyes because the song talks about that Abyei, we would not give up on you, even though we despair all over the world. We are not going to give up on you. It's also asking the people of Abyei to come together so that we could resolve the issues, where he raised questions as to like I'm asking all the 9 tribes what exactly happening in Abyei whenever there almost seemed to be a solution It seemed to be a few steps back. So the song can speak for itself, and it's very heartbreaking. And it's a song that will remain up to date for many, many generations to come. If you don't mind, would you allow me to make a few statements, or otherwise, if you wanted to
Yeah, you can
proceed?
proceed. Yeah,
Yeah.
you highly welcome.
Yeah, first, let me once again thank you, Mr. Nguyen. I personally know you. You fought in front line during the struggle, and you continue that struggle even many years later. So thank you for all that you have done, and thank you for your leadership in creating the Abyei social media, which is to give the voice to the voiceless of people of Abyei. So the way you have created this social media, you made it into a better professional platform that can where we could discuss the matter of concern of our future. So once again, I would like to extend uh, my holiday best wishes to all the people of Abyei and the people of South Sudan, even though it has not been a good ending of the year or the beginning of a new year. Before we approach the end of the year, we have lost young women here in Des Moines, Iowa. My heartfelt condolence to her family. And also, just a few days later, we have lost an icon in Abyei politics and also in South Sudan as a whole. Mr. Deng Mading is a big loss, not only to the people of Abyei, but to the entire Republic of South Sudan. But we have a very unique connection since he's a son of Abyei, and once upon a time, he was in charge of the Abyei Joint Oversight Committee. He will be missed. We all know that people do die. It's sometimes that is always good those who dedicate their lives for a cause that we were hoping that they could see the fruit of their hard work or realize the outcome of their hard work before they depart. This should be another reason. I think I will take this opportunity to directly speak to the government of South Sudan, especially Your Excellency, Mr. President Salva Kiir Mayardit. Deng Mading was a senior leadership leader within the SPLM. If I'm not mistaken, he is a deputy chairperson of the acting SPLM Secretary General. The best way for this, I think personally, that the SPLM and the government of South Sudan could honor his legacy is to resolve the same issue that he was fighting to resolve, and that is the final status of Abyei. I would urge the government of South Sudan and the entire SPLM leadership to honor Deng Mading by resolving the issue of the very homeland where his body will be buried. That will be a good way of honoring not only his lives, but lives of many countless Abyei sons and daughters that fought in front line for the freedom of South Sudan. I shall also take this opportunity in the name of the Abyei community in the United States to strongly condemn the most recent attack on Sunday, January 2nd, 2022, the attack that took place in the village of Myrdal that took the lives of 5 innocent civilians and wounded 1 in the Myrdal village of Myrdal, county of Rumamer in the Abyei area. This attack was carried out by the Sudanese-sponsored militant, which we believe they are supported always by the Sudanese government. The blame lies squarely on the shoulder of the government of Sudan for their continued support to the militant of Massyria that continue to attack the people of Abyei and continue to cause or destabilize and disturb peace in the region. We also really regret the continued failure of the United Nations peacekeeping force from delivering from their basic duty, which is to protect the civilian and their property in Abyei. The United Nations peacekeeping force in Abyei are under Chapter 7, which is the power to not only keep peace, to assess and determine act of aggression or peace, and preemptively take an action to prevent tragic. So we call the United Nations, UNISPA, their basic duty, and that is to protect the innocent people.
Mr. Chairman, can I cut you off from there, please? I think I would let you see somebody calling you, I guess. That's why there is an echo, right?
No, not that I'm aware.
Okay. All right, go ahead. Now it's okay. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah. So we asked the UNISPA to immediately hand over the 11 criminals that they have captured. They have just committed a crime, and we asked the UNISPA to hand them immediately to the local administration under the leadership of Lieutenant Kwaldem, so that they could face justice and answer to their crime in the local court of law in the Abyei administration area. This should be a very simple and basic ask. Somebody who's caught committing a crime, the very simple thing that the UNISPA could do, if they could not protect the people of Abyei, at least should not release criminals so they could live another day to commit another act of crime. It will be a terrible violation of human rights if UNISPA were to release these 11 criminals who were caught. In their blood is lives of 6 innocent civilians in Abyei, and possibly many, many innocent civilians that they may have took their lives prior to this attack. There will be no acceptable basis for the United Nations to not hand these 11 criminals over to the local court so that they could be held accountable for their crime. Letting criminals go free can only invite more criminals to commit crime. And therefore, I encourage the United Nations to not only do anything towards Abyei, but towards the rules of law in the entire world. Thank you. I look forward for questions and engage listeners of Abyei Social.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chairman. To the audience, please, today we're going to switch to Dinka language, but before we do that, there are some questions that I really do want to ask Mr. Chairman before we switch to Dinka language. And the reason why we need to update ourselves too, what can we do from here since we have reached 2022 and there is no sign of any change that is coming? Somebody has to live with the hope. You have to feel something that, I'm hoping tomorrow something gonna happen. So I will ask you, Mr. Chairman, there are some questions that I want to ask you, and when we're done with those, then we will go to our mother tongue, which is Dinka language, so that we brainstorm ourselves and discuss our problems and see how can we get away from this. So would you please try to briefly talk to us about CPA and why is it still until now?
Thank you. The Peace Agreement, which is the abbreviation for CPA, it was really for the human rights, the United Nations, the international community, who worked tirelessly and one of the terrible civil war in Africa continent, with the longest civil war that cost the lives of 2.5 million. This CPA did not come free of cost. It did cost financially and time that was invested by the United States, the United Kingdom, the European Union, the African, the United Nations as the world body, and the work of the North Sudan and South Sudan civil society activists. This CPA that took place should have resolved and brought peace all across the Sudan. The CPA was clear after 21 years of South Sudanese people liberation, or the Sudanese people liberation movement fighting. Of course, the SPLM and SPLA, which is the military wing, they were fighting for a united Sudan, a Sudan where all people of Sudan are treated equally. As Dr. John Garang, the founding father of the SPLM, once said, that Africanism cannot unite us, Islam cannot unite us, Christianity cannot unite us, and Uruba cannot unite us. But Sudanism can unite us. Let us first and foremost accept ourselves that we are Sudanese. These were a basic core principle of the SPLM, and I believe continue to be. But the CPA say that we must make unity attractive because it takes two people, right, to achieve peace. So in absence of the other party that interested of uniting Sudan, under where all the people of Sudan are treated equally with dignity and respect, the people of South Sudan has the right to choose their destiny. Tragically, that was the outcome, because the SPLM did work hard to try to make that unity possible. But every time they were faced by fierce rejection from the other side. As a result, people of South Sudan in 2011 voted for separation. Now, this CPA, it has 7 protocols. One of the 7 protocols is the Abyei protocols. People of Abyei, of course, undeniably, they are South Sudanese by virtue. We are from the tribe, one of the largest tribes in South Sudan, Dinka. And even North Sudan cannot deny that. Back in 1905, Abyei was transferred for administrative purposes to be governed under Kordofan province, which at the time, it makes sense because under United Sudan, it's pretty much come down to the convenience of the distance. It was making much sense that Kordofan was much closer to the people of Abyei than Wow. But when the CPA was signed, and I believe it must have been in the back of mind of al-Bashir and his administration, that they are not interested on United Sudan and they want to keep some resource of oil. So somehow they insist that the border between Sudan and the South Sudan must be that of 1956, January 1st. First, this is a false narrative. It's not as if Sudan was once upon a time 2 different nations and then it unite. There is no such a thing as 1956 border. What happened, they are referring to, it was the end of the colonism authority control area. And when Sudan get their independence, people of South Sudan joined actually the Sudan to get their independence. As such, there was no border to reference to. Given Sudan was governed under province, it was changed by the same administration who say that whatever took place in 1956 cannot be amended or changed. In fact, al-Bashir is the one that transformed Sudan from being governed by provinces and turned Sudan into 26 states. So technically, they did not keep what was in place in 1956. And therefore, I see no reason why Denka Ngok and the people of South Sudan should be held hostage for the 1956 that say Abyei was part of the Kordofan province. There is no such a thing as Kordofan province today. There is a South Kordofan state. Abyei was never part of South Kordofan states. It was part of the my Samoa Kordofan al Cobra, you know. For this reason, nevertheless, people of Abyei, and as a compromise agreement, reluctantly accepted to vote in a separate self-determination where they will be asked whether to remain in Kordofan or return back to Barghazal. This is something that everyone should pay attention to. It's not as if Abyei has always been part of Kordofan. Abyei was part of Barghazal until 1904. Then it was transferred to 1905 to Kordofan, where the Rurueng and Tui County were also transferred along with it. But then, for whatever reason, Rurueng decided to return back to Barghazal, and Abyei remained, which I always say that there are so many reasons as to why. As it was United Sudan, so for me, it didn't really make an urgent need to return to South since we are all still part of United Sudan. Second, the reference that Abyei was transferred from Barghazal to Kordofan in of itself is a proof that Abyei was part of South Sudan. For these reasons, it brings us to why Abyei Protocol has not been implemented yet. Because if we talk about the comprehensive peace agreement, there was a complete consensus from both sides, and they signed, and they are bound to implement it. International community too did sign as a peace guarantor, which means they do have an obligation to make sure the CPA has been implemented on the spirit to the letter. The play that the North Sudan have used is somehow insisting that Masseria have the right to vote. And on this basis, they kind of continue to try to renegotiate an already negotiated agreement. What we know, according to Abyei Protocol, the only one who has the right to, in a power sharing, was the Mu'tamar al-Watan as a political party. And only through the people of Abyei, Denkangog, that are member of the National Congress Party, were then going to represent the Bashir in the governing of Abyei. There was no such a thing as Masseria, because once Masseria were never part of Kordofan, Barghazal, and what is in question here is whether or not people of Abyei will choose to remain in Kordofan or return to Barghazal. If that's the case, Masseria have no place to return to. In this context, Masseria are excluded from the right to vote. They have nothing to determine their self-determine, because they have always been part of North. Moreover, Abyei in Abyei Protocol defined the Abyei area as the area of 9 tribes of Denkangog chieftains that were transferred from 1905 to Kordofan. That is the second reference. That leave no room for Masseria to have any business on self-determination for the people of Denkangog and Abyei. Moreover, Masseria, they themselves, has been mentioned in the Abyei Protocol, and they are mentioned in context of having the right to continue to graze their cattle and access to the water through the Denkangog area until otherwise people of Denkangog decide their destiny. And even the agreement went beyond to explain in an event of people Denkangog chose to return to Barghazal, the future of Masseria, cattle grazing and access to the water will depend upon the relationship between the two countries. This leave no room for no such a thing as Masseria have a right. So I call upon our government to not let themselves be pulled into this notion of Khartoum wanting to be represented somehow. This is a shared area. Abyei is supposed to be self-governing until they choose between remaining in Kordofan or returning to Barghazal. The failure of the North Sudan to implement that agreement is a grave violation to the CPA that not only should be dealt with by the government of South Sudan, but the international community should hold Sudan accountable for their failure to honor what they have signed. Now, I'm sorry for a long explanation. There has been this word mentioned like people of Denkangok and other Sudanese. Let me put it in broader context. Other Sudanese. Did not say other tribes. It didn't say other unknown. It say other Sudanese. So let's talk about the whole Abyei, the comprehensive peace agreement with their 7 protocols. The protocols of power sharing and wealth sharing between North and South mention the SPLA, SPLM, the Khartoum, which is the National Congress Party, and other political parties, other Sudanese political parties. So in the South, the Mu'tamar al-Watani was going to be represented by a member of South Sudanese whom are part of the Mu'tamar al-Watani. And the SPLM was going to be represented in North Sudan by the member of the SPLM whom are North Sudanese that are representing them there. What is being represented here, it was the political party, and there was no limit as to who should be in a member of the National Congress Party or the SPLM. So at the time, there are part of Denka Ngok sons and daughter were part of the National Congress Party that could represent, according to the agreement of the power sharing between the SPLM and the National Congress Party, but only through the Denka Ngok sons and daughters that are members of the National Congress Party. So let's say SPLM in South Sudan has a certain percentage of the power, where the Mu'tamar al-Watani was represented by a certain percentage, and other political parties. Does it make sense? Can SPLM be another political party? Of course not, because SPLM are the SPLM, and the National Congress Party are the National Congress Party. They could not be other political parties. In this context, other Sudanese cannot be Masiri and Denka Ngok, because these 2 tribes were mentioned. In context, Denka Ngok are the one who own the area that reference. Abyei is defined as an area of 9 tribes of Denka Ngok chiefdom that were transferred from 1905 to Kordofan, and that Masiri will have the right to continue graze their cattle and access to water. They are 2 parties to the agreement with different rights. Other Sudanese, it means individuals who have no affiliation with any tribe, but permanently lives in Abyei. These are the definition of other Sudanese. For this reason, I see no reason as to why the Khartoum failed to let the people of Denka Ngok vote. Most importantly, I see no reason why our government of South Sudan continue to be reluctant and enforcing the implementation of the Abyei Protocol, which is part of the Comprehensive Peace Agreement. During the peace negotiation, remember, the Sudan was insisting that the 2-force army will be integrated. The SPLM insists that the SPLA will remain as a different institution to protect the peace, which means they were there to be the power that threatened the North, that if they don't implement the peace, they will be dealt with. And I think one of the SPLM, I don't remember the individual, but said it clearly that we must make the cost of not implementing the CPA very expensive than actually implementing the CPA. I call upon these voices within the SPLM and in South Sudan today to make the cost of not implementing the remaining provision of the CPA more expensive than retaining it. Khartoum had looted Abyei wealth long enough. People of Abyei have suffered long enough. The continuing failure to resolve the final status of Abyei is a threat to the national security of the Republic of South Sudan. And I call upon the government of South Sudan to immediately resolve the final status of Abyei, and that is let the Abyei referendum of 2013 stand as the voice of people have spoken. Thank you, and I'm sorry for long explanation.
No, it is very important, by the way. But thank you so much. You have elaborated more indeed. Okay, before we go back, there are some 3 questions that I want to ask you here, and then we will switch to Dinka language. There is a proposal people talk about nowadays. I don't know what can it do. I just want to let you know, why do you think this approach is very important?
I am going to be brief because I don't want to bore the viewers.
Yes.
Like you have a very excited topic, and Sarah, she's standing by. She's another bright young lady whom I respect a lot. You're talking about the framework for Abyei. That's the proposal put forth by Dr. Francis Mading. And we had the opportunity to meet with Dr. Francis on October 16 as a community leaders, where we had the proposal in advance. We thoroughly read the proposal and examined it very carefully. We did examine it. And then we had a meeting where we asked questions to Dr. Francis, because we saw proposal to be really a second option in the if the North Sudan and South Sudan continue to fail by resolving the final status of Abyei, people of Abyei has the right to live, at least for the moment, until the agreement is implemented. And the proposal have said so many good things that are in the best interest of Denka Ngok, and therefore they are in the best interest of South Sudan. Remember, I see interests of Denka Ngok intertwined with the interests of South Sudan as a nation. The proposal, in the absence of resolving the final status of Abyei as of today, this is something that should take place for now until whatever is taking the both government long to take place. In other words, this proposal can be put away if the final status of Abyei were to be resolved tomorrow. We asked questions, and Dr. Francis was very open for a change. As a sense and intellectual, not only for Abyei, but in a world stage, he was open to anyone who would suggest otherwise. And we suggest a few change here and there, and he welcomed. All that he cared for is that people of Abyei and the South Sudan should not lose their right over Abyei. In proposal, he clearly warned the international community to not fall in the trap of assumption that somehow the Denka Ngok area is shared with Massyria. He went in lengths to mention even during the 1905, Denka Ngok always had the Abyei as their area, territory. And Massyria had their own area, with the headquarters being Mujlat and other surrounding areas. It's not that the international community is not aware of it, but as an intellectual, he must have worried about the changes that take place. And you could see the language evolving from this to that and to that. So he wanted to reinforce that area. Secondly, the proposal actually has a lot from Tom Mbeki proposal and the Abyei Protocol. Proposal call for the United Nations to extend the security on the entire area as is defined on the Code of Arbitration. Who in South or in North does dispute the Code of Arbitration outcome? In fact, if I remember correctly, North Sudan celebrate the victory because the ABC report, which is the Abyei Boundary Commission report, has more area for Denkangok than the Court of Arbitration. We want to court to the head because there was a dispute from the North claiming that somehow the international community was sympathizing with the Denkangok and has took so many territories that belong to Syria and awarded them to be for Denkangok. That what led to after the 2008 attack, that the issue of Abyei was referred to the Court of Arbitration. The Court of Arbitration has reduced the square mileage that were awarded to be defined as the area of the 9th tribe significantly. And the North Sudan celebrate that victory. And it's no brainer that now, after celebrating that they get all they want more than what they bargained for, they suddenly find themselves going after very little that is given to Denkangok. So the proposal call international community to extend the security over all the area so that the people of Denkangok could go to their area, cultivate, and at least develop some sense of independence so they could work for themselves instead of depending on the international aid. Building a society to learn how to depend